Part 1. The Subtle Shift. 1. 32M have been married to my wife, Elena 31F, for 4 years. We've been together for 7. For the longest time, I thought we were the lucky ones. We rarely fought, we had shared goals, and we genuinely enjoyed each other's company. But about 8 months ago, a subtle, cold shift began. It started when she got a massive promotion at the boutique marketing agency where she works. Her boss, Julian, 42M, is a charismatic, aggressively ambitious guy. Suddenly, Elena's hours stretched. A 6 p.m. arrival turned into 8 p.m., then sometimes 10 p.m. She blamed the client dinners and pitch decks. I wanted to be the supportive husband, so I cooked, kept the house clean, and rubbed her shoulders when she finally walked in exhausted. But then came the classic red flags I was too blind or too in love to see. The phone. Her phone used to live face up on the kitchen counter. It started migrating to her pocket, face down, even into the bathroom while she showered. The wardrobe. She entirely overhauled her style. The cozy sweaters were replaced by designer silk blouses and expensive lingerie she never wore for me. The intimacy. Our sex life didn't just die, it felt actively repelled. When I tried to initiate, she'd recoil slightly as if my touch was foreign and uncomfortable. I asked her if we were okay. She gaslit me flawlessly. I'm just stressed, Mark. Why are you adding to my plate right now? I need you to be my rock, not another obligation. I felt immense guilt. I backed off. But my God was screaming at me. Update 1. The loose thread. I found the first real clue by accident. 2 months ago, I was looking for a spare charging cable in her car's center console and found a crumpled receipt. It was for a high-end boutique hotel downtown, right in our city. It was dated a Tuesday, a night she told me she was working late at the office on a crisis PR campaign. My heart dropped into my stomach. I didn't confront her. I knew if I did, she would just invent a lie about a cover booking for a client. I needed undeniable proof. That weekend, while she was out at a brunch with the girls, I did something I promised myself I'd never do. I booted up her old iPad, the one she hadn't used in a year. We shared an Apple ID for purchases, but I knew she used to have her iMessages synced across devices. My hands were shaking as the screen glowed to life. I opened the messaging app. It took a few minutes to sync, but when it did, a thread with an unsaved number popped up at the very top. I clicked it. The first message I read broke me in half. Elena, I can still smell your cologne on my neck. I don't want to go home to him. Unknown. Number. Soon. Beautiful. Just stick to the timeline. Let him keep paying the mortgage until your bonus clears and his stock vests. Then we cut the cord. I read back through 6 months of messages. The unknown number was Julian, her boss. They weren't just having an affair, they were meticulously planning to financially ruin me. I work in tech and I had a massive company stock vest coming up in exactly 3 months. Elena was playing the dutiful, stressed wife just long enough to claim half of my vest in the divorce, while Julian was advising her on how to hide her own assets. I sat on the floor of my bedroom and sobbed until I threw up. The woman I built my life with was a stranger, but as the grief burned out, it left behind something cold, hard, and terrifyingly calm. I didn't want a messy, screaming confrontation. I didn't want to break plates or beg for answers. I wanted to destroy them. Update 2. The Alliance. I spent the next 3 weeks acting like the perfect oblivious husband. It was psychological torture. I kissed her cheek, packed her lunches, and smiled while she texted him across the dinner table. Meanwhile, I was doing my research. I knew Julian's marketing agency wasn't entirely self made. It was an open secret in our city's corporate circle that Julian's wife, Victoria, 40s, came from serious generational wealth. She was the silent majority investor in his firm. Without Victoria's money and social connections, Julian was just a guy with a slick haircut and a leased Porsche. I reached out to Victoria. I used a fake LinkedIn account to bypass Julian's gatekeeping and messaged her directly, asking for a discreet meeting regarding a shared liability. We met in a private room at a quiet country club she belonged to. I didn't waste her time. I opened a folder and slid across the table printed transcripts of the text, photos of the hotel receipts, and a log of dates. Victoria didn't cry. She didn't scream. She put on her reading glasses, meticulously read through every page, took a sip of her sparkling water, and looked at me with eyes like absolute ice. Julian has always been a narcissist, she said quietly. But I didn't think he was stupid enough to endanger my money for an employee. What is it you want, Mark? I want them to lose everything, I said. Legally, I want them to realize they are nothing without the people they betrayed. Victoria smiled. It was a terrifying, beautiful smile. Julian's agency's 10-year anniversary gala is in 4 weeks. He's expecting a massive media presence. Let's give them a show. Update 3. The gala. The next month was a masterclass in espionage. Victoria and I spoke on burner phones. We coordinated with our respective divorce attorneys. I quietly moved my most sentimental possessions out of the house into a storage unit. I legally filed for legal separation, establishing the date to protect my upcoming stock vest, but I had the servers hold the papers. Victoria, meanwhile, called an emergency, confidential meeting of the agency's board, which she effectively owned. The night of the gala arrived. Elena looked stunning in a backless black gown. I wore a tailored tux. She held my arm as we walked the red carpet, whispering, "Thanks for coming, honey. I know these corporate things bore you." "I wouldn't miss tonight for the world," I replied. The ballroom was packed with local politicians, high-profile clients, and local media. Julian was holding court near the bar, looking like the king of the world. He gave Elena a lingering, knowing look when we walked in. I just smiled back at him. After dinner, it was time for the speeches. Julian got on stage, gave a sickeningly arrogant speech about his vision, and then introduced his rock, my incredible wife and partner, Victoria. Victoria walked up to the podium. She looked immaculate. The room went silent. "Julian talks a lot about vision," Victoria started, her voice echoing through the massive ballroom. "But true vision requires transparency. And recently, I've had a very clear look at the reality of this company." Julian's smile faltered slightly. Elena, sitting next to me at table 4, frowned. "As the majority shareholder of this agency," Victoria continued smoothly, "I have decided that Julian's vision no longer aligns with my ethics. Effective as of our board vote this afternoon, I am pulling my capital from the firm. I am calling in the debts, and I am terminating Julian as CCO." The room erupted into shocked gasps. Julian turned pale, grabbing the mic stand. "Victoria, what is this?" "I am also," Victoria talked over him, her voice raising just enough to command the room. instituting an immediate restructuring. Several employees who have engaged in severe ethical and HR violations have already been terminated. Elena, I believe that includes you. Every single head in the room snapped to our table. Elena went entirely rigid. The color drained from her face as she stared at the stage in absolute horror. At that exact moment, two men in plain suits stepped into the ballroom. One walked directly up to the stage and handed Julian a thick manila envelope. The other walked calmly to our table. Elena, the man asked. She couldn't speak. She just nodded dumbly. You have been served, he said, placing the divorce paper directly on top of her dessert plate. Update 4. The fallout. I didn't say a word. I simply stood up, adjusted my jacket, and walked out of the ballroom. I didn't look back, but the dead silence of the room, followed by the sudden, frantic explosion of whispers, was the best music I've ever heard. My phone blew up for 3 days straight. Elena called me 87 times. She left weeping, hyperventilating, voice mails begging me to talk to her, swearing it was a mistake, that Julian manipulated her, that she loved me. I forwarded every single voicemail to my lawyer. The fallout was nuclear. The agency. Without Victoria's money, Julian's agency completely imploded. Clients dropped them within 48 hours to avoid the PR nightmare. The master plan. Because I filed for separation prior to the gala, my stock vest is completely protected. Elena gets exactly what she brought into the marriage. The lovers. Julian tried to throw Elena under the bus, claiming she seduced him and threatened a sexual harassment lawsuit if he didn't comply. Elena retaliated by leaking all their texts to his former clients. They absolutely despise each other now. Elena is currently living in a cheap studio apartment, unemployed, and entirely cut off from the lifestyle she thought she secured. Julian is facing massive corporate debt and a brutal divorce where Victoria's lawyers are currently flaying him alive. Yesterday, Elena's sister texted me. She called me a sociopath. She said that while Elena was wrong for cheating, the way I humiliated her publicly and ruined her career was vindictive, cruel, and went way too far. She said I could have just handed her the papers at home like a normal human being rather than orchestrating a public execution that permanently destroyed her professional reputation. I feel entirely at peace with what I did. I didn't lie, I didn't choose violence, and I didn't break a single law. I just forced them to live in the reality they created with the lights turned all the way up.